juste avant.
Il est à droite,
Il était juste là et on voit, moi, il y a des trucs où le type venait, il fait bouger. Et c'était opération commandée, c'était tous comme ça et tout. Mais ici, à droite, le gars aussi. Les gars, ils n'ont pas envie. Après,
Yes, but yeah.
Julien.
De toute façon, il avait des calaches.
Est-ce qu'on peut descendre, rejoindre nos collègues en levant les mains, monsieur? Nos collègues sont juste là.
Ah bah il t'a filé du coup.
Je t'ai sur la numéro 2. Je crois que j'ai pas de retour. J'ai déjà gagné. Moi j'entends. Ouais, c'est Julien.
Écoutez, il va le faire en plusieurs fois. Tout le monde aura des images et du son. Je vais vous demander de vous discipliner un petit peu, s'il vous plaît. Exactement. Tout le monde aura de l'image et du son.
Alors, un peu avant 21h, au niveau du 102 avenue des Champs-Élysées, un véhicule s'est arrêté à hauteur d'un quart de police de la direction de l'ordre public et de la circulation. C'est un quart de police qui était en stationnement avec des effectifs à l'intérieur, mais aussi des forces équipes qui étaient en sécurisation. Immédiatement, on est sorti du véhicule et a ouvert le feu sur en blessant mortellement un policier de la préfecture de police de Paris. L'homme a ensuite essayé de courir sur le trottoir en prenant pour cible les policiers. Il a réussi à en blesser deux. A priori très sérieusement. Deux policiers qui ont été blessés et d'autres policiers qui ont riposté en tuant l'assaillant. Le quartier bien évidemment a immédiatement été bouclé. avec les forces d'intervention, les forces de secours dépêchées sur les lieux afin de sécuriser la zone. Ce travail continue, c'est la raison pour laquelle nous demandons à l'ensemble des habitants, à la fois du secteur, mais également tous ceux qui auraient pu être tentés par le fait de venir sur les Champs-Élysées ce soir, d'éviter la zone afin de permettre aux opérations de police de se dérouler dans la plus grande sérénité. C'est évidemment un drame pour la police, un drame pour notre pays, puisque un policier a été tué, 2 autres ont été sérieusement blessés, ils ont été a priori délibérément pris pour cible. Le parquet anti-terroriste s'est saisi de l'affaire et c'est donc désormais, en ce qui concerne l'enquête, le procureur de la République, François Molins, qui communiquera un certain nombre d'éléments. Contrairement à un certain nombre d'informations qui étaient données, il n'y a pas de deuxième policier qui soit décédé. Ces 2 policiers étaient sévèrement blessés, grièvement blessés, qui ont été immédiatement pris en charge par le secours et évacués vers les structures hospitalières. Quant à l'identification de l'agresseur, elle n'est pas pour l'instant en ce qui concerne les informations de la République ne sont pas encore des informations fiables et vérifiées. Il y a beaucoup de prudence à avoir, une ensemble de début de l'enquête, les investigations se poursuivent, quand la sécurisation des lieux se poursuit également, parce qu'on ne peut pas exclure qu'il y ait également plusieurs complices qui aient pu participer d'une manière ou d'une autre à la commission des faits. A priori, dans cette commission des faits, selon la symétrie et les témoignages qui ont été recueillis, il n'y avait qu'un agresseur. Il faut recueillir tous les témoignages, c'est bien permettre d'avoir une idée précise sur le déroulé total des événements. Beaucoup de prudence, beaucoup de calme aussi par rapport à cette affaire qui se déroule en ce moment. Non, vous voyez, je viens de vous dire que l'identification de l'individu de l'agresseur n'était absolument pas clairement établie. Donc à partir de ce moment-là, je ne vous donnerai pas d'informations sur le passé, et notamment le passé judiciaire éventuel de cette personne. D'autant que c'est une enquête judiciaire. Si il est avéré que c'est un acte terroriste, évidemment c'est un essai extrêmement grave et qu'il peut y avoir des complices à aller chercher, des investigations à mener, éventuellement des perquisitions, des actes d'enquête extrêmement importants. Vous l'avez vu cette semaine avec ce qui s'est passé à Marseille, nous faisons face à une menace terroriste particulièrement élevée. Et dans le domaine des investigations, tout élément qui ne serait pas vérifié, prouvé et qui serait divulgué de manière prématurée peut mettre en danger les investigations. Je précise qu'il était sur place le procureur de Paris, qui est toujours sur place avec les enquêteurs de la police judiciaire, le préfet de police, Michel Delpech, des élus, Madame Hidalgo, Pierre Lelouch, le ministre de l'Intérieur, Mathias Pickled, s'est tenu au courant évidemment dès les premières secondes du déroulé de l'opération.
Dans le domaine des investigations, tout élément qui ne serait
Investigation, though, into this Champs-Élysées attack in Paris on these Parisian police officers. We'll come back with more on this breaking news after this break.
Réflexes qui ont permis la neutralisation de l'individu et au cours de cet événement il n'y a pas eu de tiers blessés et la population qui était présente, et on peut le comprendre en nombre à cette heure de la soirée sur les Champs-Élysées, il n'y a pas eu de blessés parmi les touristes, parmi les passants, et donc il y a eu une réaction avec beaucoup de sang-froid de la part de l'équipage de police de la préfecture de police qui était en sécurisation sur les Champs-Élysées. Je vous confirme qu'a priori c'est une arme automatique qui a été utilisée. Le modèle et le type, je ne vous donnerai pas, et ce sont des éléments qui appartiennent certaine à l'enquête, mais a priori c'est une arme de guerre, une arme automatique qui a été utilisée par l'agresseur pour s'en prendre aux policiers ce soir. Merci, je vous remercie. Nous ferons, non, il n'y a pas d'autres événements en cours. Là aussi, faisons très attention tous collectivement aux rumeurs qui peuvent circuler. Il y a eu des rumeurs d'autres événements qui auraient pu être liés. Il n'y a pas eu ce soir d'événements autres dans la capitale liés à ce qui s'est passé sur les Champs-Élysées. Pour autant, il y a, comme chaque soir et chaque jour dans Paris, un certain nombre d'événements qui peuvent être aussi graves, mais pas forcément liés à des événements comme on a connu ce soir. Donc, il y a en Belge, il y a, madame, il y a donc ce soir un seul événement de ce type qui se soit déroulé à Paris. Il n'y a pas d'autres actions en cours et il n'y a pas eu d'autres actions en cours et j'en resterai là. Nous avons donné un certain nombre d'informations et il y en aura d'autres qui seront données à la fois par les autorités et les pouvoirs publics, mais bien évidemment par l'autorité judiciaire en la personne de François Molins. Merci beaucoup.
Il n'y a pas un Belge. Il a utilisé une photo de langue belge. S'il vous plaît, c'est Belgique. Merci, c'était tout pour l'instant. Merci.
Sur le trottoir, s'il vous plaît.
Je voudrais essayer de remonter sur le trottoir.
De l'autre côté. Par le trottoir. Par le trottoir.
Oui, toujours.
Oui, c'est ça. Mais toujours, on va faire ce soir.
Donc, ça semble toi, mais il n'est pas établi.
Il a tenu à réaffirmer le bilan pour l'instant.
Behind me, guys. Go straight to live pics, yeah? Right. You are returning to our live coverage of an incident which has happened in the Champs-Élysées in Paris. Paris authorities say that police have killed a gunman who shot at police officers and that the attacker appeared to be acting alone. Let's get the latest then from our Home Affairs correspondent Mark White. And certainly there is a terror investigation underway. Reports that the attacker was known to the authorities. What are you hearing, Mark?
Yeah, a few points now worth clarifying as more information has come through. We initially reported this as being a suspected terror attack, slightly derailed by reports from sources within the police union in Paris that it may have been linked to a robbery, but now all of the indications that we're getting from the French authorities, the Interior Ministry and the President's office is that this may well have been a terrorist attack. The Interior Ministry, Anna, has said that these police officers were deliberately targeted. The French President, François Hollande, is holding an emergency meeting of his cabinet. That would not happen, clearly, if this was thought to have been criminal in nature, linked to a robbery. And the special prosecutor who deals with counter-terrorism issues has now been given control of this investigation. He has taken over this investigation into the incident that unfolded on the Champs-Élysées. So all indications are at this hour that this was indeed a targeted attack and may well have been a terrorist attack and not a criminal enterprise, some kind of robbery gone wrong. Some of the eyewitness accounts, Anna, that we're seeing coming through now from Paris talk about an Audi car that pulled up an attacker who got out with a Kalashnikov AK-47 semi-automatic weapon, deliberately targeting a police van that was pulled up, parked up on the Champs-Élysées, as they are, because, of course, France is still under a state of emergency. You walk around the capital of France and you will see police almost on every street corner. There are many officers there. And the indications from the eyewitness accounts that are being reported by Reuters, Associated Press and other agencies is that this police van was deliberately targeted that there was some half a dozen shots fired from this AK-47 directly at the policeman, that one officer who got out to confront the attacker immediately collapsed having been shot, and then the attacker continued shooting until he was neutralised by
Mark?
the police themselves.
Mark, I'm going to interrupt you. Apologies. Reuters news agency reporting from a police source that police have issued a warrant for a second suspect in this Paris shooting who arrived from Belgium by train. That is the very latest we have. We will return with more on this breaking news story after this.
Okay, yeah.
I go on Periscope and then you see them. Okay. The number. Just exist you can use it. Periscope. Okay, I'm on direct. I got 30% of battery, so yeah. Just take a cable for the.
Allez, s'il vous plaît, restez pas en groupe. Allez, restez pas en groupe ici. Allez.
Depuis tout à l'heure, là où il y a tous les quarts d'intervention des CRS, il y a une circulation de personnes, j'en profite. Voilà, dans les avenues concomitantes, voilà, vous voyez les quarts de CRS qui sont là, qui sont dans la rue parallèle. Et du mouvement. Donc là, je suis rue François 1er. Je vais tourner à droite sur la rue François 1er. Je pense que je vais croiser l'avenue Georges V. Je n'ai aucune idée de comment on va rue Vernet. En tout cas, voilà, les quarts de CRS sont là. Il y a plein de gens qui sont stationnés ici. Et des théories, c'est une espèce de tension quand même ici. Je ne sais pas exactement ce qui se produit. Vous voyez, donc là il y a les CRS qui sont en intervention, il y a des journalistes qui sont là. En fait, j'étais bien mieux placé que les journalistes qui étaient bloqués derrière le checkpoint d'après en fait, comme vous pouvez le voir. Il y a les journalistes et les photographes qui étaient installés derrière. Ils essayent, ils stockent les cars de gendarmerie un peu partout derrière. Il y a certaines tensions, les gens prient.
It is 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story.
Allez, s'il vous plaît, restez pas en groupe. Allez. Restez pas en groupe ici. Allez.
Ouais. Comment?
One policeman has been shot dead. Two have been seriously injured around the Champs-Élysées.
Oui, non, je voulais juste être là parce que les flics vont évacuer tout le monde et comme je filme en fait, ils vont évacuer les... Hein? Je suis un média indépendant. sais pas quoi vous dire en fait. Je ne veux pas vous...
D'accord.
Intervention. En tout cas, il y a des choses qui se passent. Hein? Je sais pas. Bah, ils viennent d'avoir la déclaration là, du porte-parole du ministère de l'Intérieur. Il n'a pas mentionné le deuxième personne.
On l'a
Quoi.
vu là,
Ouais. Après, il peut dire ça pour. Il y a la BRI qui est arrivée il y a très peu de temps.
And ask you some.
Tous les médias sont en train de bouger. Les médias officiels. Je sais pas quel flux. Hein. C'est marrant, hein. J'étais vraiment mieux placé que. Le ministère de la police. Oh, je vais me mettre devant avec les autres. C'est marrant, j'étais plus près de ça. Les équipes de presse qui en sont allées un peu plus bas, mais je sais que ça ne sert à rien d'aller plus bas. La question c'est pourquoi ils revenaient d'ici. Ils étaient tous là, ils ont tous bougé là. Amas de presse ici. Il y a un mec qui se fait interviewer. match presque délirant.
Where's Liz? Where's Liz? Randall? Randall? Randall?
English, Russian, whatever. Chinese. I'm Russian. What happened, and suddenly we just heard the sound of shootings, and then I was like, I saw this like fireworks or whatever, and then I saw the guy was shooting to police guy with the shotguns, and then one man, I saw just one man was down, and there was a terrorist, and my mom was there, and I was just run to my mom. Yeah, that's it. We went to the cafe, and the workers, they kept us inside, and we just came out from inside the cafe.
Хасан, расскажите, пожалуйста, Хасан.
How frightening was that experience? For me, I was just like shocked, and this is the first time in my life I saw the guy down, and I saw the policeman was down, and yeah, it was like really like in front of me.
Хасан, расскажите, пожалуйста, что произошло для наших русских телезрителей?
Мы катались, вот арендовали Феррари, и вдруг мы услышали, что там выстрелы были. То есть я подумал, что это как бы обычный салют или еще что-то там. И уже увидел, что люди стали паниковать, и как бы стали все бегать, и после этого я уже понял, что там уже реальная стрельба была, и мы как бы, моя мама сидела там внутри кафе, и да, и это было прям возле нас, я видел, как это террорист или кто он там выстрелил в полицию, и полиция там, и потом автоматически сразу полицию, этого террориста убили, сразу же, много выстрелов было.
А что с полицейским стало?
Один полицейский этот погиб, он сразу упал, и сразу террористы тоже выстрелили, убили несколько лицев, выстрелов было, и все, потом уже сразу автоматически полиция, все.
А сколько террористов было?
А я этого не знаю, Как я слышал, там двое террористов, одного убили, а
Которого
один...
убили, вы его видели, как он выглядел?
У него была светлая одежда, я так чисто мутно помню, у него светлая одежда была, и он уже на земле валялся.
Говорят, что он на Ауди видели?
Нет, я машину не видел ничего, я просто стоял, и я видел именно, как стрельба, все это было. Я как подъехал.
А он сразу стал по полицейскому стрелять?
Да, он целенаправленно стрелял на полицейского.
А как скоро приехала полиция?
Буквально в течение 15 секунд сразу, очень быстро.
И что происходило дальше на ваших глазах?
Было много выстрелов, и этого сразу убили террориста.
Intentar-lo llamar. Là, il parle en français, hein. C'est un témoin visuel, il l'a vu tirer. Grave.
To byli moi klienci.
Il envoie la vidéo de le mec qui a filmé la chose, donc il a filé au journaliste la vidéo avec la camionnette du gars.
Non, parce qu'elle sera pas... Ouais.
Il y a aussi beaucoup de badauds.
Word now on if they have made contact with this suspect.
And please bear with us. We know we're cutting into your regular programming, but this is a very unusual and dangerous situation in our downtown of Seattle. We're going to stick with this until we find some kind of a resolution, till we know whether this person is under control or has been contacted. So please bear with us. A lot of people, this affects their commute. It affects people that are downtown and stuck in their buildings and can't get out because of the police response. A lot of people involved in this, a lot of people affected, so we're gonna ask for your patience as we watch this. We continue to monitor this, and we have reporters down on the ground and up in the air, as you see this shot from Air 4, as we're trying to figure out exactly when this thing will end, how it will end, and that's interesting information that we just told you. A man and a woman bank robbery team, and as we mentioned before, we'll reiterate it. It started with a robbery at a 7-Eleven store. First and Madison, the robbers, or one of them anyway, ran into a building. The one that was detained, I think you said, Mo, is the woman. So she is being questioned about the person that's inside there. They're going to be trying to get as much information as they possibly can. We're now able to toss to Mitch Pittman down on the ground. Mitch, tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Yeah, Eric, we're down here at First and Western right now. Madison is just up there. Or sorry, excuse me, Madison and Western, and it's been a chaotic scene down here. Lots of people leaving their office buildings, coming down here, trying to figure out what's going on. On the way here, down first, there were police cars and ambulances flying by every few seconds, trying to get down here to the scene. Dozens of police cars. Here, I want to show you what's going on behind me. About 4 or 5 minutes ago, we heard a loud bang, and since then, we've had more ambulances pull up, doctors, EMTs coming out, going into the building, and now appearing to come back out. Up at first, there was an even larger police presence with bomb squad pulling up, bringing out robots in preparation for whatever they might need to do. We're trying to figure out what's going on right now as far as information. We're still trying to get in touch with police here at the scene, but there are a lot of folks wondering what's going on down here. As we heard that big bang, and now more police are trying to enter the building right now. Eric?
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that shot right there really gives us an idea about the response. It would appear that the entire Seattle Police Department is down there on this call right now, and he said more people going into that building. What that means, we'll just kind of have to wait and see, but that would again be maybe an indicator that they've made some kind of a contact.
Right, and we did actually see what it almost felt like a little bit of a flood of people going in all at once, and a little bit less, I don't know, I mean, we saw officers taking cover and being a little bit more careful before, and I feel like we're seeing the body language change there just a little bit in how they're approaching that part of the building and going in. So there's a lot of areas that are closed off here right now because of what's going on. I mean, you can see in this picture, it is just an absolute wall of police cars in downtown Seattle right now. I just want to mention some of the quick residual effects. In addition to all these roads being closed, metro is being rerouted. Just got word from the ferry system that cars that are coming off the Coleman ferry dock can go north and south, but they won't be able to go into downtown just because of all of this activity happening. It is our hope that this is resolved quickly and that police are able to get things back to normal as soon as possible. We have that good news that the officers' injuries are not serious, but somebody did open fire on police officers, so they can't be anything but extremely careful in this situation until they know that they have their suspect in custody. And we are seeing that activity both with medics, with the bomb squad there, and you see police officers who have had guns drawn, taking off helmets and guns down by their sides. So we are getting just these visual indications that there's been a major change in what's happening downtown and that perhaps the situation is under control. But until we get that official word from police, we want to stay with it and just be able to let you know for sure.
We want to take a look now. I want to show you a map of some of the areas in our city that have been closed off right now. A major portion of that downtown area looks like about a 4-square block area completely shut down, and that includes people that are in those buildings. Mitch, when he was talking to us a moment ago from the ground, indicated that there was a lot of confusion. You know, people maybe looking to go out, come back from lunch, or leave the workplace are not being allowed to do so. They're told to go back inside those buildings until this thing is completely settled. So you see that map there. It looks like 4 city blocks there, completely cordoned off and shut down, and people are being asked to avoid that area and use alternate routes. I hope we can go back to that shot that we just had, because I think you're right, Molly. The look, the feel of the situation seems to have changed, and now I'm wondering if maybe that wasn't a flashbang grenade that went off, if it was something else that maybe brought this thing to an end. Hard to say right now, but as you see now, police with those helmets off, standing around, talking, waiting. There doesn't seem to be the urgency that we were seeing even 5-10 minutes ago.
Right, and certainly there could have been additional shots fired as well. It is, one of our reporters had identified it as being a concussion grenade, and I think he's heard those things before, but certainly a loud bang can be confused. So we are waiting to get official word on what has happened inside that building, but there's a definite change in the mood in what we're seeing here in the live pictures of how the police are interacting. So we just want to keep an eye on it until we can get either a visual confirmation of a suspect coming out whether that's being walked out or being brought out by medics, and that word from police that things are contained and over. It started with a robbery at a 7-Eleven and has turned into just a very dramatic and encompassing situation in downtown Seattle with those officers who were injured and taken to Harborview. Fortunate to have the word that their injuries are not serious, because we've certainly seen so many cases recently around the country and around the world of police officers being shot and injured or killed more in the line of duty. So very glad to know, and it's a relief for all these officers there too, that their fellow officers' injuries are minor. Mitch, who we just checked in with a little bit ago, just sent out another picture that's very similar, same vantage point of what you're looking at right here, but commenting that the police are walking around right now outside Madison and Western, and that's certainly not the way it was when he first arrived on the scene and saw officers taking cover with guns drawn. So again, it's the visual indications here are that the danger is over, but we just want to see that and be told that for sure.
Nothing official, of course. We're waiting for word from the Seattle Police Department, any of the leaders, the chief perhaps, that this thing is over. We can tell you that our cameraman Peter Mongela, who's live down at the scene there, he had tweeted out that he saw SWAT enter the building heavily armed. That was a little while ago, so hard to say if that's what brought this thing to a close or not. There again, you see the command central as we are in Air 4 looking down at this situation at Madison and Western. It has been a tense hour or so since this thing started. It started with two people, a man and a woman, robbing a 7-Eleven store. They took off on foot. The woman was apprehended, subdued, and taken into custody. The man ran into a building. We're still not sure exactly which building they ran into. Police followed. We were told that 2 police officers were shot in the chest. We don't know if this was at close range, at a distance as they gave chase, but 2 police officers shot in their protective vests. They were taken to Harborview. The chief told our reporter Jennifer Sullivan just a little while ago that their injuries are not serious, which is a huge relief to all of us involved, to all of us watching, and to certainly all of the law enforcement in our area. So this person in a building. Let's go down now back to Mitch Pittman on the ground to see if he's seen anything more in the last few minutes. Mitch?
Well, Eric, a lot of what you guys are seeing as well from the air, police more casually walking around. We saw an ambulance leave with nobody in it that we saw. It is, as you were saying, a much more casual scene, but still certainly people are on guard here. Folks are still out on the sidewalk watching, trying to see what's going on, and there are still police running around. I see one putting on some armor right now, so it's certainly not over down here. We're still waiting to try and find out what's happening. Eric?
Mitch, this is Molly. Did you see anything deployed out of the bomb squad's truck? Have you seen the robot come out to go inside the building or anything like that?
We did see that bomb squad truck opened up and there was a robot inside. Around that time is when I came down to this separate position. Our photographer Peter Mongela is up there right now, and we can try to find out. But from this position, we can't see that bomb squad truck. But there's still a lot of activity going on the west side of the building as well, where we are.
You're not able to get any type of official word from police about what's developed most recently. Obviously, we know they've got their hands full in their priorities. They haven't been able to indicate to you at all, other than just what you're seeing, if they've made any progress inside the building?
Yeah, I'm texting with them right now, trying to get a hold of them, trying to find them on the scene, but at the moment, they're very busy.
Sure.
Well, we had told our viewers a little while ago, per Chief O'Toole, that the injuries were not serious to the 2 men who were shot in their protective chests, vests. It's now official. The Seattle police have tweeted out that, quote, "We've just learned that the 2 SPD officers injured are both alert and okay. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families. So great news on that front. Let's hope this thing ends and stays that way, right? Let's hope there are no more injuries, no more casualties, and that this thing can be put to bed. But always a good sign when we start to see things relax a little bit in these situations. We haven't seen an officer with a gun drawn here for at least the last several minutes. We were told again that there was some sort of a loud bang, and that would appear to be when the situation seemed to loosen up a little bit.
And we are actually getting word now that the suspect is dead inside the building. And so, you know, we suspected that as something like that was probably the case just based on how everybody turned into a little bit more of a relaxed stance. But we understand the suspect in the building is dead. We do not know if that was a self-inflicted wound or if police opened fire on the suspect. That part we're very unsure of at the moment. But it sounds like there is a third suspect as well who is still on the run, and that might indicate why Mitch was saying he saw officers putting on additional armor and gear, if there is a third person who they are still looking for. We also understand that while we do know, as Eric's been saying, that 2 officers were shot in the vest, it's possible that a third officer was grazed by a bullet as well, so we're trying to get some additional information on that. We mainly just have the confirmation on those 2 officers who were taken to Harborview who had been shot in the vest. So we'll keep working on trying to get some confirmation there on anything else. But we are trying to get a little bit more here pinned down on if there is a third suspect still on the run. But we have heard from police now that the suspect who they were looking for inside that building is dead, and just don't know if it was self-inflicted or if police opened fire.
So a bit of a confusing situation then. If there is a third suspect, can we assume that that is not the person who shot the 2 officers in the chest, because the second suspect is dead inside the building? We can't assume anything right now, so we're going to kind of sit tight here and try to figure out what this possible third suspect situation is. And as Molly mentioned, the possibility of a third officer being grazed by a bullet. So a desperate and frightening and intense situation playing out just about an hour ago in downtown Seattle. A robbery, some gunfire, a suspect running into a building, and then that suspect dying. We had heard about a loud bang. We don't know if that's what killed the second suspect, or again, as Molly pointed out, if it was a self-inflicted wound, which we will oftentimes see in these kinds of situations. Again, the officers do not appear to be in crisis mode right now as you look at that sort of command center that they've set up with their vehicles in a circle downtown at Madison and Western. They haven't opened up the doors of the surrounding buildings. The pedestrians are not being allowed on that 4 square block grid that has been blocked off. So situation is definitely not back to normal at this point. We don't see any of those police vehicles exiting the situation. We're still waiting for official word on any of this, but we do know, again, as you mentioned, that second suspect is now dead.
Here's a little bit more of a witness account that we've gotten from downtown. A man named Brian Wilcox, who says he was delivering some concrete across the street from where this all happened, said that he saw the officers coming down Western and saw a suspect run into the federal building. I had mentioned the federal building's not too far from everything that you're looking at here. Just from experience of having been in there, it would be tough to get very far in a place like the federal building because of all the security there. But says the suspect ran into the federal building, and that shortly after, Wilcox says he saw police follow him in with weapons drawn, heard the gunshots exchanged, and says later he saw a male and female police officer come out of the federal building. He thought it appeared that they were the 2 had been shot, and described the female officer as having them others checking underneath her body armor, but that she walked out on her own power. He wasn't sure that she'd been shot, but thought perhaps just by what he was seeing that she had been. We do know that 2 officers went to Harborview to be checked out afterwards, and it was the police chief who let us know that their injuries were minor. So we just have to pin down on if this female officer, who the witness described seeing having underneath her body armor checked, is one of those 2 or not.
We're going to take a live picture now at Harborview Medical Center, if we can go to that and show you the situation there. There's an officer on the ground, or a couple of 3 officers standing by there. We, again, are hearing that the injuries are not serious to either of the officers that were shot in the vest. So great news, but that is the situation. A live picture from Harborview Medical Center, where I'm sure there were some very tense moments as they waited for those officers to get there and find out if they're okay. But officers standing outside of Harborview right now as we go back to the live situation at Madison and Western, waiting for this situation to draw to a close.
It's always what we see outside the hospital. When an officer is taken there, no matter the extent of the injuries, you will always see a large force of other officers who escort an ambulance there and who stand outside the hospital, inside the hospital as well. An injured officer is never alone when they've been taken to the hospital. So the force here in downtown actually looks like it's thinned out slightly in this time that we've been watching it. There's obviously still a huge response there, the tactical vehicles and all the different police as well. So now we're looking at some live pictures from the ground where we just saw someone being walked to a police car. It disappeared really quickly behind that van, and so since we didn't see them emerge on the other side, I'm guessing that person was just put inside that police vehicle.
We just saw the top of their head walking by, and now you see some other officers approaching, some of them with guns, but they might be then putting them inside of one of those vehicles to transport them. Not official, not 100% sure that it was a suspect, but an officer was walking someone over there.
And I'm being told right now, somebody who saw maybe that shot a little bit longer than we did right here live on the air, that it looked like it was a woman. And we do understand that the robbery at the 7-Eleven that set all of this off had been committed by a man and a woman, and we had been told the woman was in custody. So it's quite possible that that was the woman, and they were just moving her from one location to another. Yeah, so again, the way it had started was with that robbery, a man and a woman holding up a 7-Eleven, and then this police chase that started first just on foot, you know, and then running into one of the buildings, and all of the other police showing up here in backup. Our understanding is that the suspect who had run inside the building is dead. We just don't know yet if that was self-inflicted or if police ended up killing that suspect. We're waiting to learn more as they work on processing the scene. It looks like they're trying to clear some cars out so that they can move this police car where they just put the woman into the back, so that they can move that out of there and move on to the police station for more questioning.
Another tweet from the Seattle Police Department, and it says the following: 1 male officer, 1 female officer taken to Harborview for treatment. 1 suspect detained near First and Madison. 2nd suspect found with significant injuries. So this would indicate that not necessarily has that suspect been killed. Could still be alive with significant injuries, so we'll have to wait for some clarification on that. Well, you never know. We hear about these robberies all the time at you know, fast food places and convenience stores, and you never know when they're going to turn into something like this. These police officers are out there doing this incredibly difficult job every single day. Never know when a robbery is going to turn into something like this, when there's going to be a suspect that is so desperate that they're willing to shoot at a police officer. That's what transpired a little more than an hour ago in downtown Seattle, as we are now waiting to find out if, in fact, I guess this is the suspect dead or perhaps clinging to life. We do know, and I will continue to reiterate the good news, and that is that those 2 police officers who were shot in the chest in those protective vests are going to be okay.
I have a little bit more about a 3rd suspect. Seattle police say that they're looking for a black man. They say black male, dark complexion, stands 5'11", 250 pounds, wearing a black jacket, glasses, and a Seahawks beanie. So that's a description SPD just put out of a possible 3rd suspect. They say police are searching for a possible 3rd suspect. Also, a little bit more on that woman who we saw being put into the back of a police car. Our Jennifer Sullivan, talking to sources, says that the female suspect who is in custody is a juvenile. We believe that is who we just saw put into the police car and then taken away for additional interviews. There should be a news conference coming up here soon, so we're planning on sticking with this. We should get a lot of these outstanding questions answered at that time, a little bit more about how those officers are doing, anything else they can tell us about the possibility of this third suspect, and what has happened to the suspect, to the man who went inside that building, whether or not he is dead or significantly injured. I think we haven't seen him come out. Medics, we saw their staging to go in. If the injuries were treatable, I think we probably would have seen him come out and loaded into an ambulance by now to get out of there. But, you know, again, it's just something that we have to wait for to get the confirmation. But we had gotten it from a reliable source that that suspect had been killed inside the building, whether by his own hand or by officers. Just that part we don't know now. But again, possibly we knew that there was a man and a woman involved. We had a little bit of word of a possibility of a third suspect, and now we are getting that from police as well, as they gave that description of a second man who they're looking for.
And of course, we're trying to piece together this entire scenario as we get little bits of information heading our way. And we're now learning that there is a third suspect. For the longest time, it was the suspect who had been detained and the one that had run into the building. Now there's a third suspect. We don't know if this is someone who, you know, may or may not have been involved, who took off running in a different... We just don't know what that third suspect situation is. But as you take a look at the command center at this intersection in downtown Seattle with a 4-square block area, blocked off, shut down, people inside their office buildings, people waiting for the green light to go get into their cars and go home if that's the case, or to continue with their business. As they sit and wait, we sit and wait, watching this situation play out before us. We had heard a bang. One suspect is either dead or is gravely injured, and now a third suspect perhaps on the loose. And again, judging by the body language of the officers down on the ground, you know, hard to say if this third suspect is armed and dangerous. They do not appear to be in crisis mode at all at this point.
Side of the avenue.
That I haven't seen for a while have their guns drawn. This is sort of the look of a situation where they're just waiting for this thing to play out.
I'll go by foot.
Waiting for word on if indeed this is a third suspect or where they might be. Okay, we just don't know at this point.
It will be long.
We will get some good answers from SVD as soon as they get their news briefing set up. We're told it'll be in about the next 10 minutes or so. They're trying to pull that together. We obviously are there. We've got multiple crews on the ground who will be able to respond to that. I wanted to give you some additional clarification too, as we've talked about whether or not the suspect is dead or alive. While the Seattle police have told us that the second suspect was found with significant injuries, my understanding is it is Chief O'Toole who has told us that that suspect is dead. And that is obviously a very reliable source. So Chief O'Toole has told Como News that the suspect inside the building is dead, and we should be able to bring that to you too directly from the chief when that media briefing begins here in about 10 minutes.
An intense situation. It's been going on for about an hour and a half. We've been on the air live for probably 30-40 minutes as this situation unfolds in our downtown streets. 2 people, possibly 3 now, we're told, involved in the robbery of a 7-Eleven store. One person was detained apparently almost immediately. Another took off running. Perhaps 2 took off running. One ran into a building and fired shots at police. 2 officers hit in the chest. No serious injuries. Those officers taken to Harborview. We showed you that shot a few minutes ago. And as we look at this shot right now, that man on the right had his gun drawn probably about 15 minutes ago and looked to be very, ready and on alert. That does not appear to be the situation at all. So those 2 officers taken to Harborview as we go with the bird's eye look from above from Air 4. They are going to be okay. A third suspect possibly on the loose. And right now the Seattle Police Department seems to be in kind of a wait-and-see mode.
Right, and let's give you that description of that possible third suspect again. Seattle police say there is a possible third suspect who is a black male standing 5'11", 250 pounds, was described as wearing a black jacket and glasses and a Seahawks beanie as well. So it's a pretty good description. They are saying a possible third suspect, so just with all of the chaos that unfolded downtown, it's possible that just in some of the witness interviews they've done, that there was just a little bit of confusion about, I saw this person, this is what he looked like, I think he was with the other two, or you know, something along those lines. So there we've got the description for you up on the screen as well. If you see somebody who matches this description, don't approach that person. You should call 911 and let police figure out if this person does indeed pose a danger and was related to the shooting and the robbery of the 7-Eleven. We do know that there was at least a man and a woman. The woman, a juvenile, is in custody, and the man who was inside that building we have confirmed, is dead.
And this is, of course, having a huge effect on the goings-on of downtown Seattle on a Thursday afternoon, and it won't be very long before it starts to have a huge effect on the commute as people get out of work early and head home on Thursday evening. The buses are being affected, metro buses altering their routes, obviously. The ferries are being affected as people get off those ferries and head into downtown. A lot of people stuck in their buildings right now in that 4-block area, unable to move. A huge police presence, and we have yet to see really any of those people released back onto the streets to allow business as usual. So it's a wait-and-see mode right now. A lot of people just kind of waiting and wondering and hoping that this thing will come to a close.
Let's get a live look now at where we are about to hear from Seattle police. You can see that we've got our camera set up there and a live signal coming in. A group of reporters are waiting for, I'm assuming it'll end up being Police Chief O'Toole from SPD coming out to talk to us about what unfolded here, how her officers are doing, and what the latest is in the investigation. And what happened inside that building as well. Don't know if we'll be able to find out this quickly if the suspect killed himself or not. This is Sean Whitcomb, who is one of the public information officers. He's coming out. Looks like he's probably just kind of getting everybody set up in place and ready, and should be bringing the chief out to talk to us momentarily. So just hang with us here. This should get a lot of those outstanding questions answered.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that as we continue to look at the huge police presence, a ton of police vehicles in downtown Seattle, Madison and Western. I mean, in that shot alone, you can see about 20 vehicles, times that by probably 2 or 3 in addition that you can't see in that picture. So a huge response, which is always the case when officers are shot at or shot. In this case, 2 officers taking shots in the chest. And again, we can't stress enough those amazing vests that these officers wear. Cumbersome at times, but man, when it comes down to it, they are lifesavers, and that would appear to have been what happened today. We're being told now that the mayor is down on the ground. You see the Mayor Murray right there, and it looks like we're getting really close.
We're ready. Unfortunately, we've had a shooting today in the city of Seattle. There was an attempted robbery of a 7-Eleven on First Avenue. 2 officers have been injured, one to the chest. The second officer has bullet wounds to the chin and to his rib cage. And I'm going to turn over the situational details to Chief Best in just a moment, but there are a few things I need to ask people to do. This is still an active crime scene. We ask you to be patient, to try and stay out of here, to try and be patient about how you decide to move around the core of this city, because traffic will be a problem. Now, moving away from back to the more serious problem, we have 2 police officers who are injured. We have a robbery, and our hearts and our thoughts are with those officers and with their families. And I will now ask Chief Best to fill you in on the details with the suspects.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I have to say that Chief O'Toole was on a flight on her way to the East Coast for a meeting with the Department of Justice. Otherwise, she would be here. But regarding this incident today, this afternoon, shortly after 1 p.m., there's a robbery in the 600 block of First Avenue. Our officers responded. 3 suspects had fled. Our officers contacted the suspects about a block away. A fight ensued. One of the officers was fighting with one of the suspects on the ground. A female suspect came over and struck the officer on the head with a bottle. The suspects fled. A third suspect came out, fired rounds. There was an exchange of gunfire. That suspect fled into a building nearby and was barricaded in that building. 2 of the officers who fired were struck. They're both being treated, as the mayor mentioned earlier, at Harborview Medical Center. One with relatively minor injuries due to the officer's vest. The bullet was stopped. The other officer was struck in the face and subsequently in the rib cage and is in stable condition. We do have a third suspect that is not in custody and at large. He is described as a black male, 5'11", about 250 pounds, wearing glasses and a Seahawks beanie and black clothing. So that person is at large at this time. The other suspect that barricaded himself into the building has been apprehended and is in custody. He's been apprehended. And again, this is an ongoing investigation. We have our homicide unit out here. Our forced investigations team is out here. We're going to make sure that we have a thorough investigation. The people who are in the building are sheltering in place until we can clear the building. So it's still ongoing at this time.
Is it accurate to call this shoplifting as well as a robbery?
It's a robbery, Essex. That's what it is. They were robbing the store, and that's what we have.
What's the name of the store?
It's a 7-Eleven.
What is the building that's shut down right now?
I'm not sure the name of the building. It's one of the old federal building. So I'll have to get that for you.
Puis là, on arrive au 6e, c'est les mecs qui voulaient pas tirer.
They'll shelter in place until we can clear the building and render it safe. That could take a little bit of time, but everyone's being patient under the circumstances.
Aïe, aïe, aïe.
There's always that possibility. That's why we want to make sure that people shelter in place until we can clear it.
Lyon va se faire éliminer à pile à 2 heures de mon âge.
They had a description of the suspects. Obviously, when they confronted them, there was a fight that ensued, and one of the suspects attacked the officer. It's pretty clear these are the people that we were looking for.
Was a third officer also shot?
No, 2 officers were shot.
Regarde le foot derrière.
I'm sorry, what happened to the female suspect?
Regarde le foot derrière.
The female suspect is in custody at this time.
Je le vois là, on le voit en direct.
As the mayor mentioned earlier, people need to be patient. There will be traffic impacts as we try to clear the area. That just comes with the territory of trying to process the scene and make sure we render it safe. I can't go any further than that. I was told that's what I have at this time.
What about civilians at the 7-Eleven?
Le tueur qui vient de louper son
No
tir,
other
les
injuries
amis,
have
le
been
tueur
reported to
qui
me
vient
at this
de
time.
louper son
Obviously,
tir.
it's still ongoing, but we have no other information of any other
au fond
injuries.
du but et Lyon est qualifié, les amis. On se parle de
Both
un
officers are in
tir et
stable
une
condition,
qualif
but one
pour une
officer's
demi-finale
injuries are more
européenne.
significant than
C'est
the
ça qu'on se parle.
other. Again, the vest that we wear was able to stop the bullet from having more injury than without the vest,
C'est un
obviously.
fumé en vrai, tu vois.
I can't answer that. I know at least one of the suspects fired.
Non, c'est très dans la
I
tribune.
don't
Je
have
pense
that
que
information. It's too early.
les Turcs, ils n'ont pas fait de problème pour pas se faire suspendre de
600 block of
compétition
First
européenne.
Avenue.
Si jamais ils
Yes.
seront éliminés, c'est chaud.
Well, it's going to take some time. We have our SWAT team doing it. They're trained. They know exactly what they're doing. They'll move as quickly and efficiently as they can to get people rendered safe in the building.
Do you know what's in that building?
I don't have
Ah non, je ne peux supporter. Je ne peux supporter. Je m'en vais.
Yeah, it looks
Si
pretty
c'est
large,
comme ça,
yes,
je m'en vais.
about a block.
Si c'est ainsi. Si c'est comme ainsi
Yeah, we reported off the
qu'on est
area
traité
about
dans un
a
pays,
block radius at this
je m'en
time.
vais.
Again, there's going to be some traffic impacts. We ask that the public be patient, as the mayor mentioned earlier. As
Oh
we
là
try to
là
see
là
and
là
render
là.
it safe.
Cette merguez.
Yes.
Cette merguez 94. Cette merguez de Jalais. Merci d'avoir suivi. Hey!
Hey everyone, this is very early in the investigation.
Ce Jalais.
So we'll do another briefing as
Dites-moi
it
si le Turc qui
develops.
réussit ou s'y rate le
So thank
prochain.
you very much for your time right now. We'll keep you posted.
Allez, ciao. Merci d'avoir suivi ce live. Désolé pour ce bout de foot, mais là on va essayer de traverser les Champs-Élysées, on va regarder un peu l'état des choses. À Clémenceau, on peut passer. Lopez a arrêté là, vraiment? Vraiment là? Il vient d'arrêter là? En deuxième? Oh là là là, les amis, on arrive à Champs-Élysées, Clémenceau, on va voir si on peut traverser. On va voir ce qu'il en est juste Allez, c'est Gonalon là?
The face and is in stable condition, shot in the face and also the rib cage. So a little bit of confusion there. And we're also learning that there was a fight on the ground as we picture this thing. Try to imagine it as it played out. A fight on the ground, an officer wrestling with one of the suspect, and then the female suspect runs up, hits the officer in the head with a bottle. And then apparently that suspect that he had been wrestling with was able to get up and take off on foot. So, some new information there as we're trying to piece together this entire situation. Bottom line, one suspect still at large, African-American male, 5'11", 250 pounds, a Seahawk beanie, black jacket and glasses. This is a suspect that they are looking for in downtown Seattle right now. And you heard the mayor say it as well, that they're asking people to be patient, that it is going to affect the commute, it is going to affect traffic, that people, he understands, are stuck inside these buildings. He's asking for patience in downtown Seattle.
While we were listening in on that news conference, our crew that's at Harborview also did see an ambulance arrive under a police escort. And it sounds like that was the suspect who had been taken out of the building. Is this our live picture at Harborview? Yeah, okay, so this is our live picture outside Harborview right now.
Quelle fête!
Obviously it's obscured a bit by a tree there.
Quelle fête! Alors là, on est
close our crews are allowed to get, and
à l'arrière du Grand
the
Palais.
ambulances pull into the bay there, right at the side of the building, which is what you see here.
Vu que les voitures arrivent jusqu'à là, je
have
suppose
a
qu'elles peuvent aller
complete
plus
vantage
loin.
point, but you see the doors of that ambulance are open. That's the one that just came in with the police escort. It looks like they've already gotten the patient out and inside of Harborview. So we've had some conflicting information on if that suspect had survived being shot inside the building, and it sounds like that person has, while we had been told through the police department, through the chief, that suspect had died.
All right.
We can probably need to back off that a little bit. The official word from the police department via Twitter had been significant injuries, and that's what you heard the deputy chief say there as well. So that suspect was taken out of the building with significant injuries and is now at Harborview being treated. And, you know, obviously the word significant for the injuries, and then also some confusion on if he had actually even survived. We'll have to wait and see how things go there as doctors tend to him at Harborview.
And we're being told now that 2nd Avenue has reopened, so they're starting to bring the barricades down a little bit to lessen the area of downtown Seattle that is completely shut down. 2nd Avenue has reopened, and King County Metro just tweeted out that service has resumed. Regular route-in stops on 2nd Avenue, but they do caution people to expect delays during the afternoon commute, and I think that's probably good advice for everybody that's going to be anywhere near downtown Seattle, either coming in or going home and leaving work. We're told by the deputy chief, Carmen Best, that the people are still sheltering in place inside the building that second suspect had run into, even though that suspect is now gone. So I think it's safe to assume that situation will change sometime very soon.
Well, with that third suspect on the run, I think that's probably part of why they've got to take that one slow. They know that those people want to get out of there, but they also don't want to rush it when they've got a third suspect who they're looking for. And when the question was asked if only one suspect opened fire, she said at least one. So we don't know for sure that the third suspect, we don't know if that person is armed and dangerous as well. So they certainly will be able to move through that building a little bit faster now that the suspect, who we know had been holed up, is out of there. But they have to be so cautious with the third suspect on the run. But obviously opening up the road and the change in the demeanor of the officers there does tell us a little bit about the urgency of the situation and the danger right at that point. We have some additional clarification now also on the condition of one of the officers. So we've been telling you repeatedly that officers' injuries were not serious.
de journalistes qui sont là, qui sont postés. Donc là, c'est les Champs-Élysées. Là, vous voyez, ça c'est l'avenue des Champs-Élysées, on est revenu sur les Champs-Élysées. Il y a le foule de journalistes ici.
The official condition word, though, from Harborview, where the officer is being treated, is that he is in critical condition. Chief Best credited the body armor that the officers wear for saving the life of one officer and minimizing injuries as best as possible to that second officer. But Harborview does tell us that that the officer is in critical condition.
That is a bad change of news for us and for everyone who's listening here. The mayor had said that hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the officers and their families, and now we find out that one of those officers is not in good condition, as we had been told earlier in this broadcast, but is now in critical condition, shot in the face and also the rib cage. So that is distressing news as we continue to try to piece these facts together to try to figure exactly how this thing played out. But that I'm certain that news is now going through the ranks of the police officers that you see on your screen, or at least their vehicles, that news is spreading throughout downtown Seattle and amongst the Seattle Police Department officers who are down on the ground, and that is really tough, devastating news. And again, the mayor saying, quoting what I think all of us are probably thinking right now, thoughts and prayers going out to that officer and that officer's family and the rest of the Seattle Police Department.
Right, the official word from Harborview is that man is a 30-year-old in critical condition, and they say at this time his injuries are considered life-threatening. So that is a very sad turn of events, a sad update for us after having been told that initially, the word had been that the injuries were minor, but Harborview says that the injuries are considered life-threatening. The female officer, who is 42 years old, is listed in satisfactory condition, so that part has not changed. But the male officer, age 30, critical condition, injuries are life-threatening. So you see the officers standing outside Harborview. They will be there as long as he is there. They're there to comfort one another, to comfort the family when they arrive, to show the public that one of their own is inside, and they won't leave as long as he's there. Not only will they be stationed outside, but more significantly inside. As long as an officer shot in the line of duty is inside Harborview, there will be other officers, whether it's from SPD or other departments, who come by to show support as well. They will be there as long as he is.
And so our coverage of this situation that has erupted in downtown Seattle has certainly taken a sobering turn, and you wonder if the officers that you see on their screen are hearing or have already heard about one of their own now sitting at Harborview in critical condition with injuries to the face and also the rib cage. And so there is a suspect still on the loose in downtown Seattle. A manhunt is underway as we speak. 5'11", 250-pound black male wearing a black jacket and glasses, and at one point anyway was seen wearing a Seahawk beanie. Officers will scour this city until they find that man. You can bet that they will turn over every rock and open every door until they find this person. And it's, again, a little bit hard to figure out exactly how this played out. There was a robbery at a 7-Eleven. There was a scuffle outside with one of the suspects. Another suspect, a female juvenile, hit one officer over the head with a bottle, we're told. People took off running. One ran into a building, barricaded himself. That person has been shot and has had significant injuries. At one point we were told that person was dead. We're now hearing that they may be clinging to life. So there's that one. 2 officers shot, one in the chest. The bulletproof vest stopped that officer from being seriously injured. But again, the new sobering news that we're just learning more about, that one officer is in critical condition at Harborview right now.
Mayor Ed Murray tweeting out something that you heard him say live on our air just moments ago, saying that our thoughts are with the Seattle Police Department officers injured in today's shooting. And he's reiterating that this remains an active crime scene downtown and asks that people steer clear of the area. While they have reopened Second between Spring and Columbia, the other streets in that area do remain closed. And you can see in the live pictures why. There's still quite a police presence there. Not only do they need to go methodically through that building and clear out the people who are sheltering in place, but just the vehicles just take up, physically a lot of room. And so they've got those intersections closed for some time still. So it is still an active crime scene, even though Second is open and some traffic will be getting through and some transit will be getting through. They want people to stay out of there unless you absolutely have to be in that area. Primarily, that road being open should help some people who are free to go get out of the downtown core and let officers have all the room and the space that they need to do their jobs. So it's the old federal building where this person had run in, so that is different. And I had been saying earlier that there's so much security inside the federal building. The old federal building is used for other purposes now, and we're not exactly sure what type of businesses are in there at the moment, but workers who were in there would have been told to shelter in place. So that's, a lot of businesses go through training of what happens if there's a situation like that, an active shooter or another dangerous situation in the building. And undoubtedly they were advised to stay put in their rooms. If they couldn't feel like they had a safe path out to escape, to stay put in their offices or wherever they were, hide if necessary, barricade doors. And it takes some time for officers to go through and clear people out. The people inside the building want to be 100% sure it truly is a police officer on the other side of the door talking to them, and police want to make sure that there's no danger inside each of those rooms. So it'll be a while still before they can get everybody who had been told to shelter in place out of there. And they won't reopen these roads until they have deemed that entire area safe. And if they suspect that that third suspect is still nearby, and there is that possibility that that third person is armed and dangerous, then that, of course, makes them take everything that much slower and methodically as well.
Well, the one thing we know is that these officers are not going to rush into anything. They're not going to speed this up for the sake of, getting traffic moving. This is a dicey, frightening, eerie situation that we're looking at here in downtown Seattle. A person on the loose, a suspect on the run, a manhunt going on downtown, and we have an officer in a bed at Harborview right now in critical condition, a male police officer. We don't have a lot of information. We obviously don't have that person's name yet, but our thoughts, and certainly all of your thoughts and prayers, go out towards this police officer and his family. He is at Harborview right now, listed in critical condition. It has been an afternoon of sort of scattershot news. We've been hearing one thing, being told one thing, and then a little while later being told something different. At first we were told that they had both been shot in the chest, that the protective vests had helped both of them evade serious injury. Now we learned with that press conference a few minutes ago with Deputy Chief Carmen Best that only one of those officers was able to, get away from being seriously hurt because of the vest, that the other one was actually shot somewhere in the face and also somewhere in the rib cage and is currently in critical condition.
As you can imagine, other departments and people in the community are reaching out, expressing their concern for the officers. We can show you just a sampling of some of those things that we're seeing go out over Twitter. This is from Tukwila Police saying, our thoughts are with the two Seattle officers who were shot during this incident this afternoon in Seattle. From West Pierce Fire, our thoughts and prayers are with those of Seattle PD. And that was in response to a tweet that had come out from Mayor Ed Murray talking about what was going on. And then UW Medicine, who runs Harborview, treating that officer, they say as well, our thoughts are with the injured SPD officers and their families.
So our reporter Jennifer Sullivan, who has been giving us information throughout this afternoon, has tweeted out that two police sources tell her that the suspect in downtown Seattle in the police shooting, who was described as having significant injuries, has in fact died. We had originally reported that they had died, then we were told that they had significant injuries, and now Jennifer Sullivan is telling us that, according to her sources anyway, this person has died.
So that still leaves one suspect under arrest, one suspect dead now, and one suspect at large. And it was unclear from the police if this third suspect who's at large perhaps fired any shots. We know that at least one suspect fired, and they said that it was the person who had been holed up inside the building. But in a situation like this where there's so much chaos going on and information and misinformation flying around, they couldn't tell us absolutely if this third suspect who's at large still had a weapon and perhaps fired any of those shots as well. So they have to go through a situation like this, just considering the greatest danger possible that third suspect is also armed. But at this point had no confirmation of it.
Of secondary importance is the traffic situation that is happening and will continue to happen throughout the afternoon. And the Seattle Department of Transportation is saying that James Street between Yesler Way and 2nd Avenue has now reopened. So we're seeing a gradual loosening up of that 4-block area that we saw that was shut down in downtown Seattle. Still, a huge number of lights that you see on your screen, a huge police presence as they search for this third suspect. We've given you that suspect's description a few times. We'll do it again. Black male, 5'11", 250 pounds, wearing a Seahawks beanie, a black jacket, dark glasses. That's who they're looking for in downtown. 3 suspects robbed a 7-Eleven. They took off on foot. There was a scuffle. An officer was hit over the head with a bottle, and then, of course, one person ran into that old federal building, barricaded himself, and we're told that now that person has died of significant injuries.
So we're still in sort of this watching and waiting mode to figure out what happens next as they clear out that building where people had been sheltering in place because of the suspect being inside. And while they go through this manhunt happening in downtown Seattle for that third suspect, with one suspect in custody, with that young woman who they've already arrested, they do perhaps know exactly who they're looking for. Excuse us for a moment while we're just adjusting the camera here. Air Force swinging away for a moment here in downtown. Back to some of the ground pictures there from SPD as they go into that building as well. We are keeping an eye out and an ear out for any new information on that suspect, if they have figured out who he is, or if they need to, and how, if they think that he could have possibly gotten very far. Okay, we're getting some additional information now about the number of officers hurt. And this has been in flux. You even heard the police say this is early on and information ends up changing. We understand that 2 officers were shot. 2 were grazed by bullets. So we have a total of 4 officers who suffered injuries, and that might be why there had been some confusion when we initially were saying that the officers' injuries were minor. It might have been because there were minor injuries to 3 officers. Again, 2 of them grazed, and then we know that the female officer who went to Harborview and is in satisfactory condition took that bullet mainly to the vest. Okay, I'm sorry. It's being clarified for me again. 2 were shot, 1 was grazed, so we have a total of 3. I apologize for giving some wrong information. It comes in fast and furious for us, and we obviously want to make sure that we give you information when it's confirmed, and that's what we try to do. We don't, a lot of times we're hearing information over police scanners, and we don't share it with you until we have it confirmed. I'm being told now 2 officers were shot, 1 was grazed, a total of 3. That question you might have heard